Welcome to Create and Manage SQL Agent Jobs. So what are jobs within the SQL Server? Well, SQL Server Agent Jobs can do just about anything that you need. The reason jobs can be so flexible is that they're built on this framework that's been built up over the last 20 years or so within the Microsoft SQL Server product. Jobs are made up of a variety of job steps and job schedules. Job steps do things, while job schedules trigger things to happen. The job steps are what perform the actual actions. There's a wide variety of actions they can perform, and I'll go over a comprehensive list later on. The job schedules tell the SQL Server when to actually start the job. Jobs can have multiple schedules or no schedules, depending on how often we need things to happen, and if we want to have them happen automatically, or if we just want to trigger them manually. As I mentioned, there's a wide variety of job step types. These include ActiveX scripts, operating system commands, such as batch files or command line applications, PowerShell scripts, and a variety of replication options that are available. These replication options are all used as part of the actual Microsoft SQL Server replication process. There's also a couple of analysis services options and the analysis services query. There's also a job step type for running specific integration services packages. And of course, the most important probably, to run actual T-SQL scripts. When you create a job, you can either do it through Management Studio or through T-SQL. Let's go ahead and take a look at Management Studio, see how to create a job, and then we'll look at the SQL script that's involved with that job. As you can see on the screen, I've got SQL Server Management Studio connected to a SQL Server 2012 instance. I've got the SQL Server agent exposed, and underneath that you can see jobs and the job activity monitor. If you're running Management Studio and you don't see the SQL Server agent, that's because either you don't have permissions on the server, or you're running the Express edition of either the server or the Management Studio tools. You need to be running SQL Server Workgroup Edition or higher in order to actually see the SQL Server agent. If we right-click on Jobs, we'll get the New Job option from the context menu. Selecting that lets us actually create a new job. Now there's no wizard to walk through, but there is a simple multi-page screen. So we're just going to call our first job here Test 3. The owner of the job, this is the person who's going to be able to edit the job. Any systems administrator or member of the sysadmin fixed server role is going to be able to modify any job on the server. We can then create job steps. These steps can do just about anything that we need them to do. Let's go ahead and add a new step, give it a name. We'll call it Sample 1. We can then select the type of step that we wish to have. As you can see, there's a wide variety of options. The options available on this screen will change depending on the job step type that we have. For example, if we select an operating system command, we get the option to run the command as one of various accounts. In this case, there's only one account listed. Should we set up additional proxies and SQL Server credentials, we could have other options available here. We're also prompted with what exit code to use if this command is successful. We can specify the exit code depending on the output of the command that's going to be run. If we select SQL Server Integration Services package, as you can see, we'll get a multi-tabbed configuration here so that we can specify various different options. If I look at the local server, I'll see there's no packages to run at this time. But if there was, I could select a package and then be able to run it. It appears that in this particular case, Integration Service is not installed on this machine, so it's not going to let me actually connect. This is one of the ways you can tell if Integration Services is installed. If I change the package source to SQL Server, unfortunately, I won't be able to select any of these various tabs because I don't have a package selected. If I change the type again to T-SQL, we'll see I go back to a more basic-looking screen. The parameters that you see here are simply left over from the previous type that was selected. At this point, I can type in any T-SQL command I want, and it will be executed against the database server when the job is run. In this case, let's just return a simple value. While we won't be able to see this command when it's run, it will tell us that the job is actually doing something. We have a variety of options we can specify on the Advanced tab as well. This includes what to do when this step is completed. We can specify what we want to do on success and on failure, and if the job step fails, how many times to retry it before it actually fails. We can specify an output file, which writes the output from the command to a text file. We can also log this to a specific table, and we can specify the T-SQL job step type to run as a different user should we need to. Clicking OK adds the job step to the job. Clicking Schedules allows us to select a new schedule, or to build a new schedule. If we click on the Pick button, we simply get a list of all the schedules available on the machine. If we select the New button, we can create a new job schedule. On the Alerts tab, we can specify what alerts are going to trigger this job by clicking Add, and then creating a new alert. This is actually creating an alert separate from the job, simply telling the alert it's going to be able to fire the job later. On the Notifications tab, we can specify who we want to be notified in the event of a failure. This is done based on SQL Server agent operators, which are outside the scope of this video and are not yet created on this instance, so the drop-down menus are going to be blank. I can specify that people be emailed, paged, or net send when the job succeeds, when it fails, or when it completes. It's recommended to only use the email option in the modern world. Back in the old days, in SQL 2000 and SQL 7, we'd use the page option because we had text pagers with very small message limitations. The page option simply sends an email, not a text message, but it sends a much smaller message with much less information. The net send is effectively useless in the modern computing world. This is because the services within the Windows operating system that would be required to make net send messages work no longer exist. Odds are you won't be using this option in a modern environment. You can also write to the application log in the event of a job failure, and you can even delete the job automatically when the job succeeds, fails, or completes. I'd recommend not using the automatic deletion option unless absolutely necessary. You can select the Targets page and set up multi-server targets in the event that this is configured. There's another video available within this course on multi-server targets. At this point, we can click OK, and the job will be created. Let's go ahead and click on Script and actually look at the T-SQL script for this job. Now, you may have noticed I did not add a schedule to this job. The reason for that is because if I created a schedule on the job and then clicked the Script button, I would get an error message from Management Studio. This is a bug in Management Studio. Because things are not yet created in the correct order, it cannot assign a job schedule to a job that does not yet exist. So let's click Cancel and look at the T-SQL. As you can see, here's the T-SQL. We're going to start with an SP add job command. This is going to specify the name of the job, if it's enabled, and what sort of notifications we have. We're also going to set the name of the category, as well as the owner, and then we're going to output the job ID as an output parameter. We're then going to use this job ID later on. We then do an SP add job server, which specifies the name of the server that this job is going to run on. It's always going to be the local server unless we're setting up multi-server jobs. We're then going to add the job step. This is going to be step number 1, which you can see from the step ID parameter. We have to set the command execution success code even though we're not going to be using it. We set the on success action, on fail action, and the retry information as well. We set the subsystem to T-SQL, and then we set the actual T-SQL command we're going to run. We also specify the database name we wish to run the job within. In this particular case, Management Studio has decided we need to update the job as well with some additional information. Because the job has been created and set up, but we now need to specify the start step ID. We have to do this as a separate command, although normally we wouldn't need all this additional information. All we would need to do is enable the job and set the start step ID. If we were going to create schedules as part of this, we would now use sp_add schedule to create a schedule, and then sp_bind schedule to bind a job to a schedule. Running this T-SQL should execute without errors and actually create the job. There were no error messages, and the job ID is simply returned. We'll look at managing a job in the next video.